Good morning. Today is Sunday, June 22nd, 2025, and this is the weekly Bitcoin price forecast, looking at where Bitcoin went in the last week and where it could potentially go in the future. So, as always, we're going to start on the monthly chart. Last week, Bitcoin was up quite a bit, I think around like 106 to start the week, and we have since come down to 102. And a lot of that happened within the last 24 to 48 hours, hinging on geopolitical things with the Iranian and Israeli conflict. To be expected. Something of that scale generally will tend to push price negative, at least temporarily. Major world events, for whatever reason, do not affect Bitcoin long term, at least from what we've seen. Even things like COVID, right? So, like, you had COVID around here. This was the COVID candle. This is March of 2020. You see, after that major conflict, it just went straight up. And then you have that was conflict. Well, not conflict. There was a global pandemic, really. You had the China ban here in, I think, June of 2021, somewhere in there. It went up one more time to hit an all-time high, and then just all this legal stuff that happened here, and then just kind of the end of the cycle. That is to be expected. But what I'm saying here is I'm not super concerned about this, and I'll show you why on the weekly charts and below. But really, this didn't go down incredibly far relative to what it is. We see it's still very much so in a range. So to be expected that we will still see higher prices. I'm not saying that this is bullish by any means, like the conflict and whatnot, but I just don't think that it's going to be as big of a thing as people are making it out to be. It's in terms of price, like, oh, Bitcoin's going to zero. No, it's not. It's just not. So, seeing on the weekly chart, I mean, we see even here, even coming back down to 102, which last week I even talked about, it could come down to about 101, and that would be more than reasonable, especially considering where the price levels are. This is a weekly chart. We'll look at the daily to see where kind of some of the moving averages and some of the different levels are. But really, price is having a really difficult time getting below 100. And one thing that's been said is that Bitcoin has been above 100K for, I think it was like 40 something days at this point. So it broke 100 here. Yeah, it was on December 4th, I think, somewhere in this week it broke that. So on consecutive days that it's been back above 100. So let's look at 1 week, 2 week, 3 week, 4 week, 5 week, going on 6 weeks of Bitcoin being above 100,000, and 100,000 is like right here. So it's really good to see. It's good to see that it has really held pretty strong. We'll turn on the drawings here and just see a couple things. So we broke out of this bull flag at the bottom of April. Really, again, even tariffs. Oh man, it's so bad. It's going to crash Bitcoin. Actually, really, all it did, it just sent it right back up to 100, into the 100 to 110 range. And I mean, what is this? This was inauguration. Well, kind of the end of the year, going into inauguration. That was a real all-time high here on inauguration before it breached again. And now it's just headed to the downside. So, one of the things I look at is really just what are the levels here. So again, we breached the top of this again, my escape velocity line. I think this is important. It's going to be important long term to kind of the overall. I don't know, the longevity of Bitcoin. Like, it has to break this level before it can do anything fantastic, and I think it will. I think we really will see that lift off. So at this point, you have, this entire line right here hasn't broken it. And it just kind of rejected a little bit off of it. That is to be expected. But what you do have is it came back down here, couldn't get below 100,000. The short-term holder realized price, I had it at 93 last week. I just hadn't updated it. It was around 93. It has jumped 5,000 in the last couple months, especially since like Bitcoin has been going back up. It's sitting at 98,000. So you're really not going to go historically, right? And we can look at this on another chart. We won't do it today. But historically, if you look at short-term holder realized price, it doesn't go too much below there. So let's say it even goes down to 96. I said 101 last week, 100, 101. This is all still in this area. I don't think it'll go really down to 96. And if so, not for any type of sustained amount of time either. But it could definitely go and kind of retest this short-term holder realized price one more time before continuing on to the upside. So it's good to see that it got above it. It's kind of wedged in between these two areas. Like, you got this really strong downward pushing area in that escape velocity line versus 100,000. The short term holder realized price. You'll see on the daily chart that we also have the 50-day moving average that's kind of around in this area. So this area is very strong. This area is very strong. So it's more than reasonable to see some type of squeeze action right here before moving on to the upside. So yeah, I mean that all looks good to me in my book. So let's go down to the daily chart, get some more eyes on it. So again, Bitcoin made this stair stepper pattern all the way from the bottom. It ran up, didn't do anything. Ran up, didn't do anything. Ran up, didn't do anything. Ran up, and then okay, well, this is the high point. We made a new all-time high, and we've just kind of really been bouncing off this orange area. So you have a couple things in this area. You have this orange support area that's holding price up. You have the 50-day moving average, as I was talking about, that's sitting at 103. Last week it was sitting around 100, 101. And you see it came back down here and tested this area. Couldn't get down to 100. Couldn't get past you now have the 100-day moving average. You also have the short-term holder realized price sitting right here. So this is good. I mean, to me, this is good. This is just a wind up before you actually take off. It's a contraction of action right here. You're contracting, you are coiling, the spring is getting tighter. And then once it does, it just really ends up taking off to the 100, 110, 100, and it just starts doing these these wave patterns until you get to the top. So really, I'm expecting something in the range of this. Maybe you go down here and then you up, and then you one more time, just continue on to the upside until you get here, and then you'll probably see some type of down action. So that's daily. Yeah, I mean, there's really not too much to talk about here. I don't see it getting below this area for any major reason, just because of the fact that this is just so much. There's so much traffic right here that would lead me to believe otherwise. So, 4-hour chart, we've kind of flipped bearish for a little bit. We see the moving averages have come down, and prices below that, but still, that leads it to believe that okay, we'll probably go down a little bit more before we come up. But that's fine. That's fine in the overall picture. We're paying attention to the big picture, not just the small fluctuating movements. I don't need to go down to hourly. One thing I did want to look at this week was the overall. So this is going all the way back to 2011. 2011. Around the time that they really started tracking Bitcoin's price. So we see this is actually a logarithmic chart. It basically makes the scale different than 1, 2, 3, 4. You see it jumps from 8 to 18 to 1005 or to 1050 and so on. But really, if you look at it on the logarithmic chart, it makes this clean linear line, this linear trend line, pretty much this channel that essentially tells me that we have exponential price action here. So if it stays so neatly within this channel, you're dealing with something that has moved exponentially over time and is bounded by some type of exponential function. My bet, in March of 2023 is that we would hit 250,000 by the end of 2025. Let's take a look here. So 2026, that's where this bottom cursor is. January 2026. Each of these candles is 3 months, so this is a quarterly chart. So if we come down here, we say, all right, well, this really isn't that far. That's 2, 3 candles. That's 1, 2. So really, I got 2 more candles here. But before we see if we get to 250, but if we draw some type of line, some type of trend line, even if we just draw it right in the middle of all these, that still puts you right there, somewhere in the range of this is 1025, this is 126. So that still puts you at about 200,000 to 250. And I'm still of the belief that we haven't actually seen the parabolic action just yet. We haven't seen even if we get 2 candles of this like this, we'll be pretty good. But this has been very compressed, really ever since the election. I think eventually we will see some type of parabolic move and hit 250,000, and that's just not outside of the realm of possibility at all. So and then this is like to further illustrate that. So this is the same thing going back to 2011. We see that it has just moved up over and over. What I want to look at is the last couple months. So these are several different metrics. So this is Bitcoin's price. This is basically seeing where the top and bottom have been over time. So we see like the yellow and green lines, they really mark the bottoms of the market. It doesn't really go below there. The tops are marked by the red, blue, and purple lines. So red, blue, purple, we see it goes in here and then it comes down. Red, blue, purple, and fine, these all converge, they meet, it comes down. So on and so forth. They all converge right here. All right, that's over. It's come down. But really since this point, the red, we're just kind of floating in the middle. We haven't actually hit either side yet. It's just kind of we're in that gray middle period. So let's take a look from here. Actually, that didn't get all of it. There we go. So this is where we're at a current day. We've come up all this time from January 2023 lows and really shot up since then, mid-January. But we haven't hit either side, the yellow and the green, which marks the bottom, or the red and the purple, which marks the top. But what I do see is that the red and the purple, as we continue on here, the ending price is looking like 227. So if this hits either of those lines, we're going to be at 200 something $1,000. So I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility at all that we start to see that motion. So again, $227,000. We'll see how that really shakes out. But 250 was my bet. I think that's a fair bet still. By the end of the year or close, but I'm still holding on to that 250. The blue line is a little bit more out of reach at this point, like 500,000. I just don't think we're going to see something like that. Not by the end of the year. Maybe in the next 2 years, I think that's more than possible. Because again, I'm still under the impression that we're not going to have a major bear market again. The supply and demand dynamics just don't. They don't forecast that. They really just don't. So I think we'll just see either ranging or continued upward motion. Looking at the news from last week, Bitcoin. Well, we're not as much talking about Bitcoin right now, but the Bank of Japan and the Fed both decided to keep the rates at 4.5. So this is rate holds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different rate holds since the end of last year. They've been holding since December 2024. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then let's say this rate hold here: 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that was 9 different decisions. This one has been 5 so far. They did hint online. I think it was one of the Federal Reserve Board governors hinted that we could see rate cuts as early as July. Again, as early as, which means it'll probably be September or August, somewhere in there, depending on what the next decision after that is. But yeah, overall, I mean, we're holding. Once interest rates start changing, you will start to see a lot of motion, just in general, because money will become cheaper. I don't see them hiking rates. That doesn't make a ton of sense with the constraints that we're in. But they could cut. They absolutely could cut here, and then we'll see what that looks like. Bank of Japan. The Bank of Japan has increased. Well, they've stayed the same for the last 4 cycles. So since the beginning of the year, they've stayed the same with the U.S. Nobody's moving. Everybody's holding their cards. But this was a major shakeup. Like, going from -1 to +5. That's like, even from here to here, that's a 500% increase, or about 400% increase from 0.1 to 0.5. That's a huge jump. Stuff has gotten ridiculously more, I guess, like expensive in Japan. Like that's their policy rate. So money has become tighter in Japan, and it that has strengthened their currency, meaning more people around the world want to buy it, which goes back into the yen carry trade. But I will not talk about that right now. That is not who I was looking at. So this is X.com. I do want to say that Texas has now adopted Bitcoin. This is shout out to Texas. Texas has now adopted Bitcoin as a reserve asset. It's signed into law. Texas Strategic Bitcoin Reserve now officially signed into law. Abbott has, put his pen down, so they are number 3 now after Arizona, New Hampshire, and Texas to really adopt Bitcoin and come into the state. And so this is why I'm so bullish. You have states, you have countries, you have companies, you have individuals, you have small businesses. All of these people are capable of buying Bitcoin. And it's not just a retail game anymore. It's not just your weird uncle or your buddy from college who's telling you about Bitcoin. This is a global reserve asset at this point, and it has been. You don't have to wait for them to tell you that it is. It's a global reserve asset, and it's going to continue to be so. Bitcoin's not going anywhere. It's around to stay at least for, let's say, the next 20 to 50 years. I mean, who knows after that, but we'll roll the dice when we get there. But for right now, for the next 5 to 10 years, you really do have an opportunity to take advantage of one of the greatest financial transformations that we're going to see. Yeah, that's it, guys. I mean, there's not really too much to it at this point. I mean, I'm going to keep I'm going to keep doing these videos until the end of about 2025, and then maybe we'll pivot. I just want to really see where we're at, like, for this end of the cycle. I think it's going to be exciting, but the overall, I mean, really, the tide shifted in January of 2024. It shifted in 2024 because Wall Street adopted Bitcoin, so that forced other people to adopt Bitcoin. Now the United States has adopted Bitcoin, which forces other countries to adopt Bitcoin. Now you have states like Texas and New Hampshire and Arizona adopting Bitcoin. That forces other states to adopt Bitcoin. You have people like MicroStrategy and GameStop, MetaPlanet. All these people these corporations are adopting Bitcoin, which forces other corporations to adopt Bitcoin as well. It just keeps going. It keeps going. People want to get richer, so that forces you to look into Bitcoin or gold or whatever else. But yeah, y'all, this is absolutely incredible financial technology, and I'm happy to see where it goes. So this has been Chris Talks Crypto. Check out any crypto-based resources on christalkscrypto.com, and I will see y'all on the moon. Take care. Bye-bye.